Hey, what's up guys? Guardian here, coming to you guys with a video going over my updated Vermillion deck. So Dragonic Kaiser Vermillion the Blood came out in set 6. Pretty good stuff overall. Pretty happy with the upgrade to Vermillion. I do want to give you guys a bit of a caution right now, but I'm going to try and make this quite a quick deck profile because I am a bit sick right now, and you might be able to hear it in my voice. But I will try to give you guys a somewhat of a decent deck profile to go over the deck. But I do apologize if I kind of cut it a bit short. So yeah. So with the ride line, typical stuff. We've got the Red River and the Thunderstorm, searching the order, and then top 7 check for the order or a Narukami piece, whichever one we need. So yeah, pretty simple. And of course the blood we'll go over now. So with him, the way they did the cross ride form of him is that when you have the original Vermilion in your soul, he gets 5k. But then if your opponent's Vanguard's grade 3 or greater, he gets an extra crit, and then your front row rears get 5k as well. So yeah, it does benefit when your opponent's going first, since you can hit the crit as soon as you get to grade 3. But of course, if you're going first, then it does give you that little bit extra time to maybe dig for the Vermilion to get it in the soul. But yeah, overall though, it's kind of similar to the old Vermilion in that you can Soul Blast instead of Counter Blasting now to gain the ability to attack the rear guards, as well as the Vanguard. And then his last skill is that obviously if you've used an order, at the end of the battle, you can discard a card to deal damage to your opponent as long as they're at 4 or less. So that allows you to sort of push them on damage as fast as possible, since that is allowed to be used regardless of the opponent's grade. So when you are going first, you can capitalize on that, even if they're grade 2. So yeah. So a lot of pressure from Vermilion, but the extra crit pressure and the 5k boost to your reguards does help you with some number generation, basically. Alright. For other grade 3s, of course, we have 3 of the original Vermilion. I think 3 is fine for this. Don't really want to play more than 3. The card's mostly just there to get the blood skill active. But do remember, though, that he is a body. So if you're struggling on Reguard, you can just call the extra copies down, as long as you've got 1 in your soul, obviously. So, yeah. So playing 3 of those. And then to move on to the next card we need to play, it's the Order, Eternal Thunderbolt. Now with this card, I have a love-hate relationship with this card. Sometimes I feel like I want to play 3, sometimes I want to play 4. You pretty much need this card to be in constant rotation for you to have like the extra benefits of like the binding, because Vermilion himself doesn't bind. It's whilst you have this active that he's that the reguards that he kills then become bound instead, which can then enable you to maybe use a Phoenix during the battle phase. So it depends. But then also, if your opponent has no rear guards, this does give an extra 5k to your front row rears as well. So it's another application of power that is worth knowing. But also with this, it's able to play itself from the drop zone by binding it, so it's really good discard fodder, which is sometimes why I kind of feel like playing 4 of it. Just because there's a lot of pieces in this deck that I want to hold on to, so having like these and like maybe the Phoenix is like decent discard fodders. I feel like it's pretty applicable, but at the same time, am I going to be utilizing all 4 of them? Probably not. Probably going to be using 3 at most, and then if I haven't won by then, you're probably in a losing position. So yeah. So with that, final grade 3 of the deck is 3 copies of course, the old promo, the Hammer Dragon. So with this guy, you do need to play a normal order for both his effects. But yeah, he's able to bind himself, the draw card, which is good because it enables Phoenix. And obviously, refilling your hand back up, always a good thing. And then, of course, his second skill allows him to call himself back from the bind zone. So he's always in constant rotation, basically, which I kind of feel like is why I want to play 3 of this at minimum, because playing 2, it's a little bit random when you might see him, and I'd rather be more consistent and make sure I have one of these on access basically all the time. Also, CB in this deck is a little bit kind of like, I would say awkward, but because it's like, I'll have times where I have tons of CB, and then there will be other times where I'm like using it like sparingly, you know? So But this is going to be one of your main outlets for the CB, since of course the other one is going to be the grade 2, which I'll go over now. But yeah, one thing you might note, there's a lot of grade 3s in the deck, so yeah, that is one of my gripes with this deck right now. But you kind of have to do what you have to do. So for grade 2s, we'll move on over to those. So first, of course, we've got the new grade 2, which is a cash-in. So this is the consistency piece for Vermillion, where it counts as a Narukami, which is good. So it has synergies with like your other Narukami searches. But when placed from your hand, you basically check top 7 for either a Vermillion or the Eternal Thunderbolt, reveal it, add it to hand, and then shuffle the rest back on deck, obviously. And then you have to either reveal put a card from your hand into your soul, or discard a card. So with this, it's basically just forms of soul charge in a weird way, but it's obviously more so there to get the original Vermillion into your soul. And you want to play 4 of it because you just want to be as consistent as possible this deck, because honestly, the amount of times that you'll be missing pieces, you'd be surprised. But one of the other enablers of this is the second skill, in that when it attacks, you can counterblast 1 to give it 10k, and then at the end of the battle, it will bind itself. So it's another way for you to enable Phoenix, to then enable your multi-attacks. And the 10k powers is nice because this isn't also grid restricted, so you can actually do this going first and then attack into your opponent's grade 2. So it gets over defensive, which is good. Can maybe give you a bit of early game pressure with like a Phoenix attack as well, so that's pretty nice. So yeah, 4 copies of this. And then the next grade 2 is going to be 4 copies of the Bellicosity Dragon. So yeah, this card came out same time as Cash-In. Funny thing, this is actually a Kagero unit, but of course we can still use it in the deck. Just requires us to be in a clan and just have no G-Zone. So of course Vermillion can utilize that. But yeah, with this, when placed in rear, you can Energy Blast 3, put a card from your hand in your soul, and then draw 2. Very simple. So basically with this is that if you have the original Vermillion in your hand, this is the way to get it into soul. If you don't have it in hand, hopefully your cash-ins can get it from your deck and get it into soul that way. So you have multiple outlets to get the Vermillion into your soul, so that the blood can gain the critical effect for the pressure and give your front row rear guards the 5k boost. So yeah. Also, second skill of this is that when your Vanguard attacks, it gets 5, so it's a bit more useful for Overlord with it attacking multiple times, but in this deck, it's basically just a 15k attacker, so that's decent. Can make some decent columns as boosters, so it's okay. But we're mainly doing it for the draw and being able to put pieces into the soul as well. Also, do note, something handy to do is sometimes I will like putting the order into my soul if I have these like late game. I can put this into the soul and then immediately soul blast it out with the blood soul blast effect to attack the rear guards. So that's a way for you to get this into your drop, and then you can immediately play this from the drop and then go from there. So that is a nice little trick I like to do sometimes with, well, actually both of these, since this can put it in soul as well. So something worth knowing. And then the final 2 grade 2s, I decided to play 1 copy of the Defensing Raw and 1 copy of the Regali's Piece of Choice, being the Protection Twin Cast. Yeah, as you can imagine with this deck, quite heavy on the grade 3s, so shield is very, very few and far between. So I like the Defensing Raw because with both these grade 2s, they're both on-place effects, so you can bounce them back to your hand and then reuse them again. So I feel like this has got some good applications to the deck. I could actually see myself maybe playing 2 of this in the future, but yeah, I do like the Twin Cast because this is another good discard target for like the right deck, since you can use it from the drop zone to guard with. But it's also like a 2-card guard in 1, so you can use it once as a blitz order and then play from the drop zone by removing itself to block like a second attack, which is pretty nice. Very good defensive value for a deck like this that really needs it. So yeah, I feel like those 2 defensive pieces for the grade 2s is pretty good. So yeah. Anyway, that's it for the grade 2s. So for the grade 1s, we are going to be playing, of course, the chicken of the deck, the Phoenix. This is the main way we are multi-attacking the deck. So we need to play 4 of this. Very vital that we see it. I will say with the old version of this deck, what I was doing was using this 5k power boost a lot more. Because I could retire it, bind the order from drop zone, bring it back, retire it again, bring it back. You know, I was basically just soul blasting my entire soul out, but in this deck, you need to be a little bit more careful with it. You do have ways to generate extra soul, but because you need soul for the skill of Vermillion the Blood to attack the rear guards, you do need a bit more wary. So yeah, you can't be going as ham as much with the soul blasting effect of this, since you need to maintain the soul, so you can multi-attack with the Phoenix as much as you can, instead of prioritizing the 5k basically. So yeah. Then of course the thing that makes Phoenix able to hit stuff, because it is just an 8k body, we have to play the 4 Spike Dragon. Very, very good card. I will say I had a bit more luck recently with this. The fact that it can draw you a card as long as your Vanguards hit 2 or more things. At the end of the battle it boosts, you can Energy Blast 3 to draw a card. Pretty nice for when you're not doing the bellicosities. Like, if you've done those early game, maybe these have a chance to go off late game. But those are basically the main sources of Energy Blast that you're doing in this deck. But outside of that, this is the main power source, since this provides 5k to the unit in front of it. And also, if your Vanguards hit 2 or more things that turn, it provides 10k instead. So the idea is that you're going to have something in front of this, bind it, and then call the Phoenix out. And then this will get passive power increase from this, so it can get over defensive triggers and such. So as small as Phoenix can be at times, this is basically what helps you with making it big enough so that defensives don't shut it down. And with the power increases of things like Vermillion the Blood and the Eternal Thunderbolt Order, you should be hitting around 46,000 power, so pretty good. Then maybe Persona Ride power on top of that. So Phoenix can get big. It just requires a bit of work as well. So yeah. Also, this is a Narukami as well, so again, another piece that you can search from your Narukami effects. So yeah. And then finally, for the grade 1s, very simple. We have our 3 PGs and our 1 Elementaria. So yeah. You could maybe play the 4 regular PG, since I am playing a few Blitz orders in here, but I don't know, with the Twin Cast, because you can discard it and use it from drop zone, 3 Blitz orders is what I'm comfortable with, so you can go with that as you will. Right, triggers. We are playing Dragon and Pyro T, because getting multiple Twin Drives is really good. And also, like I always like to remind people with Vermillion, what you can do is that you can attack 3 things, restand them, and then attacking with them again and attacking another 2 different rear guards that are not dead. You know, you can essentially like board wipe the opponent with the Dragon and Pyro T with this. And then also naturally, you know, with the Vanguard and having a base crit now, with the blood, this becomes a lot more deadly. So yeah, very, very good. And also this gives, you know, cards in hand as well, more chance of seeing triggers. Really, really powerful. Then for other triggers, we have 4 of the skill crit and 4 vanilla crits. Skill crits do come up sometimes in very rare occasions to like give Phoenix an extra 2k power to get over specific magic numbers. But unless you're going for like the kill shot, I wouldn't really prioritize it. But yeah, it is there just in case, since that was a major play I was doing beforehand. So it is something worth knowing. And then the final few triggers of the deck, I am playing the new Soul Fronts, just because with this deck, I feel like the Soul, yeah, you need to make sure you have a constant flow of Soul, because with Vermillion needing the Soul Blast to attack the rear guards, and Phoenix needing it, and depending on the amount of Soul you've got, that will depend on the number of Phoenix attacks you can generate. So I feel like having these in the deck does help facilitate your multi-attacks a lot more consistently. So yeah, and it's another 15k shield, so that's decent. And like I say, with the things like the Twin Cast and Defending Raw, that gives me a little bit more of a boost in my defensive value, so I don't feel too bad about not playing the 20k fronts. So yeah, these are pretty nice for the deck. And then the final triggers of the deck, of course, is a 4 heal trigger, and that basically wraps the deck up. So yeah, so that is Vermillion the Blood. Yep, Narukami got a nice power increase with this. Vermillion got his Cross Ride, which is really cool. It will be nice to see my other favourite card in this sort of era, being Ezel, get his Cross Ride in the future, but we'll just have to see. But like I said, I am a big fan of the Narukami aesthetic. Vermillion is pretty cool, and I do like the new toys he gets to play with. Just having more self-binders with like the Nashin and draw power with the Bellicosity Dragon. Really good additions, but Like I said, the one thing with this deck that's a bit lackluster is defensive value is pretty bad, and it doesn't actually plus a whole lot. There is a couple of cards that do draw you cards, but you're kind of breaking even a lot of the time, and it's not like the deck feels fair enough for what it's trying to do. But honestly, try and just capitalize on the pushing ability of the ping effect from Vermillion, and that will get you there. Basically, you just want to try and push as much as you can, and try and kill them before you get into a grind game. Because once you get into like that late game grind game stage, this deck kind of falls apart. So yeah, just try and kill them as fast as possible, basically, with this deck. That's what I'm trying to say. But anyway, that is it for the deck. Hope you guys enjoyed. And I'll see you guys in the next video, hopefully when I'm a little bit better. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. This is Guardian, signing out.